Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk in Scotland. Of course, the capital of everything, as everybody should know by now, having watched my show for long enough. I hope everybody enjoyed May 4th yesterday for Star Wars Day, and May the 4th be with you and all of that stuff. Well, today... the Revenge of the Fifth. Yeah, that's probably an old joke, but anyway, I like it. I hope everybody is doing well. We've got a small gathering in tonight so far, by the look of it. Yes, Kyle says ole. Yes, thank you very much. I am here all week. I will be here on Wednesday as well for more of the same kind of humor. We've got a small gathering in so far tonight, so hopefully we'll get some more people piling in. But the first in the door is Billy Morgan, followed by, about an hour and 10 minutes later, Danny Taylor, and we got Crispin Rackner here as well, and we've got Keith from Radio Tuck Frumpet, who is trying to scare the heck out of me by saying boo. We got Tony Stringer here as well, who says he has to catch up tomorrow. Tony, hello. I hope you're enjoying the replay. I hope you find this entertaining and useful for you. Hopefully we'll get some good questions in. I do have one question on email, which we will get to in just a wee minute. But if you do have a question, I'm going to carry on reading through the chat in a second. But if you do have a question, please... get it into the chat. If you're not subscribed, you're not going to have access to the chat. So if you have a question but you're not a subscriber yet, hit that subscribe button right now. And if you do, wait a couple of minutes and then the chat will be open to you and you can ask your question. Best way to do that is to type at Jonny Lipsham Studios at the start of your question. Yes, it does take away some of the characters that you could use for asking the question, but it's okay if you need to overflow into a second entry to answer your question, then please do. That's absolutely fine to do that. And then ask your question. So do that and then ask your question. And I will endeavor to do my very best to answer your questions. So tonight's show is all about Studio One, the usage thereof, and its features and functionality. So if you've got questions about that, then we can get that in there. That's a funny question there. Keith, you know I can't answer that, but still, it's funny nonetheless. Alright, so where did I get to? I have to try and remember where I got to. Ron Figueroa's here, Stephen Wilson's here, Matt Cochran is here, Just Bob is here as well, Don Oliver is here, Bobby Booth, who has been here since show number 1, and I think this must be show number 330 something, so... yeah, Bobby has been around since the very beginning when it was shit, let's face it. Because picture would freeze regularly, pixelate regularly, and audio would collapse to mono sometimes. But we've come a long way since then. And that's thanks to everybody actually being here and being patient as we developed and built this thing. But yeah, Bobby's been here since day one, and we got Mark Holly here as well. We got Lowens here, which is pretty cool, and we got John Hathwaite, who is down in England. He has a question, which we'll get to in a minute. And we got Paul Morgan, who has literally just entered the room as well. All right, so people will be coming in. I'm sure, because we tend to get around about 30 or so people in here, so hopefully we'll get a few more in here, otherwise it'll be a really short show. And that's not going to be fun for anybody. So let's get to questions. So as I said, if you have a question, get it into the chat just now, and I will do my best to answer your question. I got Studio One open and ready to go. But let's get to the question, because this one comes from Danny Taylor, who says, I am using the Gate plugin to trigger MIDI replacing drums in this case. Halfway through the song, when you get to the bridge, the drummer does only rim taps. versus standard snare hits. Is there a way to automate changing the MIDI note that is triggered from the gate? I gave up and just duplicated the track and triggered the rim taps from the track only for the bridge. I'll tell you the truth. That actually would have been my solution as well. That would have been my solution as well. I know it's a little bit less than elegant, but the good thing about Studio One is you can hide tracks. So if it's only something that you only have for like part of the song, but it's not really that important, and you've got them bussed together anyway, so you're going to treat them as one, then you can just hide the other one. You don't really need to see both, I don't think, providing you've set up the trigger correctly so that it now triggers the rim taps for that bridge section and then goes back, and then that's the end of that track. That actually would have been my solution. As far as I'm aware, there is not a way to change the MIDI note. Unless, and here's a way you might do it. That section that is the bridge. What you could try this. You could try using the gate as an event effects. And then, so basically chop at the start of the bridge on the snare drum, and then at the end of the bridge on the snare drum. So the bridge is its own audio event. And then I think it's Alt or Option and drag the gate to just that event, and that will create an event effects. And then you've got the gate just on that event, and then it's essentially on its own at that point. So you can then change the MIDI note just for that section, and then the overall gate should take over. And to be sure, the other thing you can do is just to be sure, to make sure that there's no conflict, because I suppose there might be. I've not really thought of this, but it's possible that there is a wee conflict between the gate that's on the event effects and the gate that's overall. And so what you can do is you can automate the power off or the bypass for the gate for the bridge, for the main gate, the gate that you're using in the inserts on the channel, right? So that gate you automate to turn off during the bridge, so that only the event effect is actually doing its thing and it's triggering that other sound, and then it comes back on for the rest of the song after that. And then, the event effects, you don't have to worry about that because that's only for that one event. And then that keeps everything on one track, so you don't have to do any track duplicating. That's just me thinking on my feet. Because I've been away through in Glasgow all day, so I didn't even get to your email until like 10 minutes before the show, and I read through your question. So that's kind of the answer that has occurred to me, and I would recommend you go try it and let me know and see how it turns out. Let me know how it goes. Let me know how that idea turns out. If it's complete shit, then, kind of ignore it. And yes, I've said the word shit twice today. I've been in Glasgow. That'll be why. So I hope that helps answer that question, because it's a really, really good one, and it's not a question I think I've ever seen come up about using the gate when using the MIDI note trigger, which, by the way, is a very, very cool feature of the gate plugin, which I don't think many people use. Jonny Guy, way back when, on his old channel, had a video on it. So he may still have that video available on his hard drive. So you might want to also consider pestering him if, like, you've never heard of this with the gate. Pester him and say, hey, Jonny, you still got that video? Repost it, because it would definitely be of value. It's a wee bit out of date now, but it would still, I think it would still be of value, because the gate hasn't really changed terribly much in about 10 years or so. So it would be worth pestering him and see if he would be happy to repost that video. I think he'd be like, yeah, sure, no problem. Because it's a good video for sure. So that is a great question. And then Keith's question is about pricing for lead architect. Yes, I cannot answer that question particularly. Danny says, can we make that a feature request? Wait, make what a feature request? I'm not sure what you mean there. John Hathwaite says, this may not be the right place to ask, but what is the best solution for drum monitors looking at the NSB things? The NSBs are pretty darn good. They're stage boxes, basically. That's what the NSBs are. They are just stage boxes. They are very, very cool stage boxes. But yeah, that might work for you. I thought you were working on in-ear monitors. I thought that's what you and your band were all working off. We're working off in-ear monitors running off of a Studio Live rack mount mixer. That's what I thought you were using. Yeah, Billy Morgan says event effects. Yes, event effects would definitely work, in my opinion. Let's see. How about a splitter applying EQ on each side, then gate on each side? Yeah, I don't think the splitter would work in that particular scenario there, John. I mean, you're using the gate to trigger a MIDI note. That's all it's there for. It's not. It doesn't matter about audio passing through it or not. So in this particular case, he's basically got a gate using the trigger feature that is in the gate plugin, and he's using that to trigger another drum sound to replace the snare drum effectively. He says, how about a splitter, isolate, rent out, and apply a gate on each side to send a different MIDI note? You could try it. I don't know that would work necessarily with the splitter, because you're still gonna have to turn one on and one off, and you're still gonna have to automate the on and off of each side of the split. Oh, cool. Billy says, Johnny Guy did an update recently. Great. Yes. Go check out his gate video. It's very, very cool. Cal says the only minor issue with using the gate is that it doesn't pass any level of velocity information to the MIDI instrument. That is correct. It's a fixed velocity. So things like subtleties like ghost notes are not going to come through. But to get the main snare drum sound, it does work for sure. But yes, you're right. It's just a fixed velocity gate. It's just a fixed velocity MIDI trigger. So you can set that to 100. You could set that quite low if you wanted to make sure you kind of catch most stuff. But yes, it's fixed velocity. So ghosted notes maybe aren't going to get triggered, and so they'll just get left on the original sound. So really, your best bet is actually to do proper drum replacement using something else. I mean, you could certainly take the audio and then use of your snare drum and then use Melodyne to do that. The Indy 500 is in a few weeks. How about a challenge for that? Oh yeah, the Indy 500. I'd forgotten all about the Indy 500. You mean writing a theme tune for the Indy 500? Yeah, maybe. If you want to do it, go ahead and do it. But really, there is not an official songwriting challenge yet. I do have one coming up, which I'm going to talk about a little bit nearer to the time. But yes, there are more challenges coming this year. Don't worry. If you are up for doing a composing/songwriting challenge, there are more coming this year. There's the Halloween one, which we'll do again, and then there's the Christmas one, which we'll do again. But before then, there are a couple more challenges that I'm going to throw your way. Don't worry about that. But Indy 500, that's an interesting one. Just Bob says, stereo track, guitar, keyboard. Can you assign either left or the right to record effects like reverb or delay? Hope this makes sense. Yeah, I'm kind of not sure what you mean. When you say a stereo track, guitar, keyboard, do you mean you have a guitar and a keyboard on a single stereo track? Or are you referring to a guitar stereo track and a keyboard stereo track. I'm not sure what you mean. So does the stereo track consist of guitar and keyboards, and you want to put the guitar on the left and keyboards on the right? Is that what you're saying? Because if that's what you're saying, then the splitter is going to be your best friend there, because you can do a channel split rather than a frequency split. So you can have effects for just the guitars on the left and effects for just the keyboards on the right. You could do that. But yeah, other than that, I'm kind of assuming that you're talking about a stereo track that has guitar and keyboards in it. John Hathaway says, yes, we're using a 32R for the in-ear monitors. Brilliant. This to get drums into front of house and in-ear monitors. Okay, it sounds to me like maybe you're talking about you may have run out of I/O on the 32R. If that's the case, I don't know whether the 32R is daisy chainable. I don't think it is. I don't think you can expand it to get more I/O with another rack mount mixer. I don't think so. But I don't know. Those are hardware gear that I am not at all familiar with. Yeah, channel split with the splitter. Yes, Billy says. Yes, I think that would work for Bob there. Depends on the gate. The trick is to change phasing. Okay. Oh, right. Okay. All right. Just Bob says keeping one side dry as a dry track. Yes. Okay. If you need to have one side that has effects on the other side that doesn't, then channel split using the splitter is probably going to work out best for you. So the left channel dry, right channel has effects. Excuse me. Just Bob says guitar or keyboard, for example, by themselves, like dry guitar on left side of stereo track, dry and right channel printing effects. Yes, splitter. Okay, so if so, what you're saying there is, you have a stereo guitar track, and you want the left side of the stereo guitar to be dry and the right side to have effects on it. And again, yes, I think the answer here would be the splitter in channel split mode. So the left side could be dry, the right side could be wet with whatever effects you want. Rich Creswell is here. Drum roll for him. There we go. Yes, you can expand the 32R with stage boxes. Yes, that I do know. And yes, if you want to add I/O with stage boxes such as the NSBs, then yeah, I would say go for it. But like I said, I don't have either the Studio Live rack mount mixer, and I don't have any stage boxes because I don't perform live anymore, so I have no need for any of that gear. But yes, that would be certainly one route you could take. Billy Morgan is our resident live sound specialist, and he says use the aux from drum bus to monitor sub amp or active 15-inch speaker. That might be a good route for you as well. Kyle is saying the splitter or split the stereo track into two separate mono tracks would make it a wee bit easier. Yes, that would definitely work. Split to mono channels would definitely help as well. Answer before I can finish typing. There you go. Bob, excellent. I'm glad we have answered your question. Well done, everybody there, for helping Bob out. That was awesome. All right, we are 22 minutes into the show. We've had a little litany of questions there, so that's cool. If you guys have got any more Studio One related questions, then please do get them into the chat just now. We've still got plenty of time, so this show is an hour long, so we will finish at 1 a.m. And just to let you know that there is a Studio One meetup immediately after this show, which I would highly recommend everybody pile over to once we're all done here, because the Studio One meetups are really, really good. I will be there for a wee while. I'm not going to be there for ages because, like I said, I've spent the entire day in Glasgow, so I have been a busy person today. So, but yeah, details of that Studio One meetup will be posted in the chat. So if that is something that piques your interest and you'd like to join us, then details of that will be posted here in the chat by one of my awesome moderators, because they are the best. And there'll be a link to that, so you can all get over there. There is a password to get in. Password is really easy. It's just S1 Meetup. And it's that would be S with the number 1 and Meetup, all one word, all lowercase. And we got Jonny here from Home Studio Trainer. Yay, Jonny's in the house. Let's give Jonny a little bit of a fanfare, shall we? There we go. So yeah, Jonny's in the house, which is awesome, because we were just talking about your gate video, Jonny. And I think in your gate video, if I'm not mistaken, you talked about the trigger feature. And so I was directing people to that video. So if you have a link to that, Jonny, please post that in the chat, so that people can go and reference that video. That would be cool. And Billy has the link to the meetup immediately in the chat, which is very, very cool. Okay, John, I'm gonna leave you in the capable hands of Billy Morgan for the question regarding the NSBs and that kind of thing, because really he is our live sound specialist. I don't do that anymore. I am retired from performing. Billy Morgan says password S1 Meetup. There you go. That's the one. And Jonny says yes. And there is the link in the chat right there, folks, to Jonny's gate video. If you want to check that out, I highly recommend it, because Jonny's videos are, first of all, they're awesome. Second of all, they're awesome. And third of all, that one's really going to be very useful. Especially for you, Bob, with regard to your question, because he covers that in a great deal of detail. So yeah, please go check that out. By the way, speaking of Jonny Gibe and his awesome videos, Jonny put up a video just today on basically adding little tabs in the files tab of the browser so that you can navigate to stuff really easily, stuff that you use. And I highly recommend you go and check that out. The reason I'm going to say that is because I have that set up already. And I'm going to show you this. Just because, you know, it's cool to see Jonny do this, but basically what I want to show you here is that it's very, very easy to do, and I have already gone ahead and done it. So you see here, I have files, I have Studio One, I have loop loops, and these are all my loops that I got from Loop Loft, way back, I think in 2017 or 2018. They were doing this is a good lot of years ago, and they were doing a 90% discount on their I think what they were calling it, their platinum bundle, which is basically everything, all their drum loops, which should retail at about $1,300, and I got it for just shy of $250. I was just like, yes, I'm getting that for $250. I'm getting $1,300 worth of loops. You bet. And so I got the whole damn thing. And so there are so many drum loops here in so many different styles. It's ridiculous. Plus, I also got the Matt Chamberlain loops as well, because I'm actually a big fan of his. He's a session drummer based in Nashville. And he's fantastic. He's a really terrific drummer. I first came across him when he was working with a keyboard player vocalist called Ray Thistlethwaite, if you've ever heard of him. He's a brilliant piano player. And he's a really good singer-songwriter as well, has a fantastic voice. And he plays like a Moog synth in his left hand and a Fender Rhodes or a piano in his right hand. So basically, he is the bass player, he is the piano player, and he is the singer, and he just has some great session drummer like Matt Chamberlain play with him, and the combination is brilliant. I mean, it takes real hand independence to play a really good bass part with your left hand, and then, you know, good chords and improvisation with the right hand, and sing at the same time. That takes real talent. Ray has that in abundance. But that's when I came across Matt Chamberlain, and I had to go and get his drum loops, and they are really cool. There's some weird ones in here, and there's some pretty straight ahead funky ones as well. But I also have, Jonny will remember this, Lipsham and Guide. You remember this? You remember when we first started doing Songwriting Simplified, and do you remember we had a website called Lipsham and Guide, which was really the genesis of Songwriting Simplified. And it was originally meant to start out as a podcast, and then it kind of metamorphized, if that's how you say it, I think it is, into a live show that he and I did for ages. And then for a variety of reasons, I took over the show, and so I think I've done like 50 or something shows now for Songwriting Simplified. But Jonny, you are on my list to have as a guest on the show again. It would be so cool to get back to doing that. That would be awesome. But yes, so it's dead easy to do. Jonny's video is fantastic. By the way, guys. I want to go back here. I want to go back to documents. Why is it not opening up? I don't know why that's not opening up. I think I've just totally freaked out my computer for a second there. What's going on here? Anyway. I've totally freaked out the files tab. I don't know why. Anyway, I just realized you guys couldn't see me. There we go. Yes, I would totally love to have Jonny back on the show. That would be freaking awesome. I don't know why. What the hell is going wrong with this here? There we go. I fixed it. That was weird. Anyway, my God, the files tab was totally having a freak out all by itself. Yeah, I think I must have like too many things going on my computer. So that was entertaining. Anyway, let's get back to the chat here. Just Bob says, I found both of you looking for a way to share files between two computers about 8 years ago. Yes, we did. We used Dropbox. That's what that Lipsham and Guide tab is there for. That's a link to our Dropbox folder, which we created so that we could make that video. I don't know if Jonny still has it or not. He might not have that tab anymore, but I certainly still have that link to our Dropbox folder. But yes, that's how we made that video, was by creating that tab. There is a direct link to the Dropbox folder that is local on your computer, so that basically I could just take an event and I could just drag and drop it straight to that folder. And the cool thing is, not only does it store itself locally on my computer, it also goes off into Dropbox on the internet, and then Jonny can just download it straight away. So Jonny and I basically predate in that sense, Studio One Plus and Workspaces, because Workspaces basically does exactly what Jonny and I were trying to create. So I wonder how much of that video folks at Persona saw and thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could make that work natively? So yeah, maybe we, I don't know. This might not be true, but it would be nice if it was. It would be nice if it was true that the guys in Hamburg actually watched that video and went, you know what? That's a really smart idea. Why don't we see if we can find a way to make that work? And maybe that's what we have now with Workspaces in Studio One Plus. Who knows? But yeah, so we totally pioneered that. Yes, I would agree. We were the pioneers, and they owe us at least a cup of coffee for sure. They certainly. I have. Well, that said, I have a Personas mug. I think Jonny has a Personas mug. So, Jonny, go get yourself a coffee in your Personas mug, and I'll do the same here as well. And then there, they have given us a cup of coffee. We could certainly do that. Let's see. Looploft does definitely rock. Now, Looploft don't just do drum loops. This sounds like it's a commercial for Looploft. It really isn't, and I'm not paid by them at all. But they do like saxophone loops, guitar loops, I think. Oh, darn it, there's a guitar player whose name escapes my memory. Damn it. Charlie, I've forgotten his last name. Really good guitar player. Plays I think it's a 7 or 8 string guitar. It's basically like a guitar with like bass strings on it as well. And he did some loops for Looploft, which were recorded at River Sound Studios at the Personas headquarters in Baton Rouge. They were recorded there using the Studio Live Mixer Series 3 and the ADL preamps and Studio One. And I think Justin Spence, who is no longer with the company, but Justin Spence back then, I think he did that. But yeah, all of those were done for Looploft. But they've done some saxophone loops. Bob Reynolds, who is a tenor sax player with Snarky Puppy, did a whole bunch of loops as well. So definitely check out Looplofts for sure. Free advertising for them. And Jonny has posted a link to his browser folder video. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up here. Are the loop lofts MIDI or audio? Charlie Hunter, thank you, Bob. Yes, Charlie Hunter, that's the guy. Yes, I should know better because I actually know the guy. That's embarrassing. I don't know him very well, but I do know him. Are the loop lofts MIDI or audio? They are both. You can get both, especially for the drum loops. The drum loops packages come with some of them, not all of them, but the artist ones, like the Matt Chamberlain ones, they come with MIDI and audio loops as well. So you can have either. If you want a quick demo of the Matt Chamberlain loops, we can go and look at that. Let me open up Matt Chamberlain drums. Let's close that one. So open up the other one. And I'll show you what I mean. Go back over here. So this is what you get. And this is why I have this Looploft tab, by the way, because I've got everything here. But in the Matt Chamberlain drums, there are two. There is a volume 1 and a volume 2. So this is volume 1. And you get audio loops and you get MIDI loops as well. and there's a whole bunch of folders with the MIDI loops in, and as you can see, they are MIDI files. But you get audio loops. You also get samples of the kits that have been used. So there's the Craviotta kit, and then there's a Ludwig kit here. So let's just... And then there's this one here. This is a really, really, really nice sounding kit, especially that snare drum. And so as you can see here, these are different velocities, so you could totally make a Craviotta kit in Impact, and you could put all 5 of these snares onto one pad, and then have them triggered at different velocity levels. So you got 3 different velocity levels of the rack tom. And then 4 different velocity levels of the floor tom. Different amounts of hi-hat closed. And then the same again for hi-hat open. So those are really great. So you can make kits with those. And then of course you've got the audio loops with different things going on here. So let's just take a sample of some of these. Let's try... So as you can tell, these are really, really incredibly high quality samples for the audio. And then, like I said, there's like loads of different kits here. Like, let's try this one. Just really, really nice, high quality samples. So well worth checking this out, actually. I don't know whether it's still available because I think that library is about 10 years old. So it may not still be available at Looploft, but definitely well worth investigating. Are the loops multi-track or stereo? In that case there, they were stereo loops. So all of these are stereo. If I go over to the other one, I think all of these are stereo as well. So all of those are stereo loops. I don't think there's anything here that's not stereo. But that's okay. But there are other loop packages that you can get that aren't stereo. They are multi-track, but those ones aren't. So, perfect for impact, yes. Old School Funk and Soul says, is this a free kit or have to be a Studio One subscriber? No, Loop Loft is nothing to do with Studio One. It's nothing to do with Presonus, nothing to do with Studio One Plus. They are a third-party company, so they have nothing to do with Studio One. So yes, you will have to purchase them because they are made by a third party, and you'll have to go to looploft.com to go get those. But no, they have nothing to do with Studio One Plus membership at all, so you don't have to be a subscriber. You just need to go to looploft.com, and you can go purchase them from there. They're not free. I think there are maybe some that are free over there. I think they got some free samples that you can check out, but for the most part, yes, everything over there is a paid product over at looploft.com. The guy that founded Looploft has since started another company that does similar things, but a little bit more broad, so there are more instruments. More loops with different instruments, and that's called Yurt Rock, which is also another thing well worth checking out, because there's guitars, there's basses, there's saxophones, there's trumpets, there's all sorts of stuff over at Yurt Rock that you should check out as well. Let's see, I think that's it. I think I've hit the bottom again. Lloyd is here from Baparaptor Music. Says, sorry I'm late. Yeah, don't worry about the being late part. It's alright, no problem. You can catch up on the replay when this show is over if you would like to. John Hathaway says, my fingers seem to have stopped working. Okay. Kyle is being snarky, it would seem, about Fruity Loops. That's hilarious. That's funny. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else. I don't think there is at the moment, so let's go back over here. But yeah, Looploft, if you're after drum loops in particular, in a variety of different styles, because I know that in Studio One there are, let's just say, not very many drum loops, unless you are a subscriber to Studio One Plus, in which case there are more that you can get in different styles, and some of those are multi-track as well as stereo, so they are well worth checking out. There is actually some, there are, I should say, because this is plural, there are some drum loop packages that are available in Studio One Plus that are really, really, really high quality as the Looploft stuff, actually. And yes, those are multi-track files as well as stereo as well. So those are well worth checking out as well if you're a member of Studio One Plus. And again, to be honest, all of those added value things like guitar loops, bass loops, drum loops, saxophone loops, trumpet loops, vocal loops, there's loops for pretty much everything you can think of in Studio One Plus at the moment, and being added to every month. You know, those are really useful for getting songs up and running, especially if, you know, you're not a drummer, you have no way of recording drums, or you're not a guitar player and you can't really afford to hire a good guitar player. There's like a whole string of good guitar loops in different styles, including rhythm guitar parts, solos, all that kind of stuff. Everything you could possibly need to at least come up with a demo for your songs that you can then kind of start to think about, you know, who you might hire to kind of play those kind of parts, and you're giving those musicians something to really get a good handle on what you're after as the songwriter, as the producer for the project as well. So there's plenty to get stuck into in Studio One Plus. It's actually a really, really good deal. I know that there's quite a divide between only having a perpetual license or being a member of Studio One Plus. I get that. I totally understand that. And each to their own. But for me personally, I used to be of the mind of only having a perpetual license and owning my software and stuff like that. But to be honest, I would say maybe in the last couple of years, maybe the last 3 or 4 years, I would say, I've kind of shifted my position much more over this way towards subscriptions, because, good subscription models add value. I've tried in the past to set up a subscription service myself. I didn't know what I was doing, and I wasn't very good at it, but I gave it a try. And one of the things I learned is the importance of adding value. So, people are always getting something new every month for their $15 a month or $20 a month, whatever it is going to be. And it's hard. It's hard work pumping out content like that every month for your subscribers, but you add value. So in the case of Studio One Plus, not only do you get Studio One, but you also get all of this other content that will help you with songwriting and arranging and composing. I mean, for me, I think that's a great deal. And I don't really see any other companies coming up with anything remotely similar at the moment, to be honest. Loop Platinum Audio is $100 on sale right now. Kyle, thank you very much. I totally recommend you go and get it. If you don't have any drum loops and you need drum loops in a variety of different styles, from rock all the way through to funk, and to the weird and to the wacky and to the experimental, go and check out that Platinum pack. That's what I have, and it's so flipping useful. A lot of my songs off my EP from 2016, the drums were played by Matt Chamberlain by using the Matt Chamberlain loops, believe it or not. So definitely well worth going and getting, for sure. I could not agree more with that. Those loop packs are still available from Looploft, either as 2 separate volumes or both as a bundle. Well, there you go, because it's probably because they're a wee bit on the old side, and they're well worth getting. Mark Jenkins has a load of free settings for it. Ping me for the pack. Oh, right. Okay, cool. Mark says, I have Toolbox Drumbox. Not explored it too much yet. Toolbox Drumbox recently, but no longer associated with Studio One also. You're talking about the Culture Sounds Toolbox. Yes. Culture Sounds, it's not that they're not associated with Presonus anymore. It's more to do with the fact that we had to close shop.presonus.com. And so that meant that all of those third-party content creators that were selling their stuff on the shop can no longer do that. So the shop itself, shop.presonus.com, is closed. It no longer exists because we are moving from the platform that it was on to a new, much more unified platform. See, the way it used to be, and I think I said this last week, but the way it has been up until recently, if you wanted to buy hardware, you had to purchase it from a dealer or a retailer. If you wanted to buy Studio One, you could buy that from shop.presonus.com, and you had to have a separate sign-in separate to your My Presonus account. So you had a sign-in to your Presonus account, and you had a sign-in to the shop. 2 totally different sign-ins. And they could be 2 totally different credentials because they were different platforms, right? We also had an apparel store, which was basically where you could get things like hats, t-shirts, bags, key fobs, bottle openers like this one, and shirts and hoodies and jackets and mugs and things like that. You could get all of that stuff from that store. That was another sign-in where you had to create another profile with another bunch of credentials. So there were 3 different sign-ins, 3 different ways to buy stuff from Presonus. And so obviously you can't carry on doing that if you're going to make Presonus bigger and better. and more streamlined and make the customer experience easier. So basically what we are now doing is we are building a new platform where you can buy hardware, software, and eventually also the merch again, all from one unified platform with one sign-in. And you can just buy whilst you're there. So if you're there to get speakers and you buy a set of speakers, but you decide you want to buy some add-ons or something for Studio One, you can do that at the same time in the same shopping cart. And if you decide you want a t-shirt as well whilst you're there, because who doesn't want a Personas t-shirt, right? So you will be able to do that as well and put them all in the same shopping cart and buy them all at once with the one purchase. So that's kind of where it's going. But that's why shop.personas.com had to close, so that we could do that. Unfortunately, timing, maybe not so, and the word great. Put those in order. You get the picture. So, let's see. Personas and EQWL are subscriptions worth the money? Yes, they are. Yes, EQWL. Yes, definitely. Just Bob says, great show tonight. Got to run. Dinner is ready. I'll miss the next 2 Tuesdays. You mean Wednesdays? I'm working 12-hour days the next 2 weeks. Oh boy. We'll watch replays. Bob, if you have a question for either of those shows, for either of the songwriting shows, email me, okay? And I will get your question first up on the show so that you're not having to wade through like a whole hour of replay before we get to your question. So in your particular situation, you can email me your questions in advance. And that goes for everybody else. If you want, rather than put your questions in the chat, although I like spontaneous questions in the chat, that's great. Please keep doing that. But if you also have a longer form question or a suggestion for a subject for a show, then email me. Go down there. See the website address there. JonnyLipshamStudios.co.uk. You know what? I should really drop the W's because nobody uses the W's anymore. So JonnyLipshamStudios.co.uk. And I'm tracking the other way. It's in reverse. There you go. Go down to that website there. Don't try and click on that because it doesn't do anything. It's just a slide. But yes, go to that web address, put that in your browser, and then at the top, in the menu at the top, here I think it is, there should be, or it might be up here. Yes, it's going to be up here for you. So up here, you will see there's a Contact Us button. Click on that, and a form will appear. Fill that out. Chuck in your email address, put in a subject, tell me what it is, and then you can tap out your question and then just hit send. And that will make its way to me, to my email inbox, and I will be able to take longer form questions that way. So if you've got a longer form question, we can do it that way. It's just as much fun as doing it this way via the chat, except there's no character limits. And you don't have to type add Jonny Lipsham Studios at the start, unless you want to, of course. I don't want to deprive you of that if you really want to do that. Yeah, Mark says, much better explanation. Yes, I know, I understand. It's kind of been a wee bit confusing. However, if you go to shop.personas.com now, you will see that there is a banner on there that says that. It basically says pretty much exactly what I've told you. I've maybe given a little bit more detail than maybe I should have, but I've certainly given you more detail so that you know, kind of like, be rest assured. Now, in the meantime, whilst we are in this kind of waiting period for this new shop to be built, and you want to still get Studio One add-ons, like, for example, the Retro Mix Legends or Lead Architect, you know, the synth that everybody wants because everybody was upset that it was exclusive to Studio One Plus. Well, guess what? You can now get them from sweetwater.com. So if Lead Architect is something you really, really, really want, you can go get that from sweetwater.com. And it's $100 at the moment. Who knows? It might be a little bit cheaper later, but right now it's $100, and I think that's a decent price actually for what it is. And then of course you can get the Retro Mix Legends. What are the Retro Mix Legends? That's the mix effects things, you know, things like the Brick Console and the Porta cassette, which I showcased maybe a few weeks ago on this show. But if you're not sure what I mean, this is what I'm talking about. These guys here. So Brick Console and the Console Shaper, that's the one you get for free. That one's already built in. But CTC1, this is the and this has 3 different flavors: classic, tube, and custom. These are pretty cool. And of course we have Alpine, which is I think this is American mixer based off of, I think. And then we've got everybody's favorite, the 4-track tape machine. Based off of a Japanese 4-track tape machine, which is great because you can pitch bend, which is everybody's favorite toy. So if I play the theme tune, so yes, that's just too much fun. But that's what those are. And I'm not going to keep it on that one. I'm going to put it back on the Brit. And we'll keep it there. There we go. All right. So those are available now from sweetwater.com. And we are working hard on getting loads more of the Studio One add-ons into the retail channels. So sweetwater.com is going to obviously be the big one. Toman is going to be the other big one in Europe, and Gear for Music in the UK. Those are kind of like the big 3 retail partners that we have. And Anderton's is another one. So there's plenty. Scan.co.uk as well, where I get my computer from. You might be able to get some stuff there as well. Not 100% sure about that, but certainly sweetwater.com, Toman, and Gear for Music are going to be the places to go to get Studio One add-ons if you want to get them. Bobby Booth says subscriptions are good, but when you're on a fixed income, it makes it hard to keep up when you have to pay the property taxes and highlight bills for about the same time. It's hard to pay. I guess. I mean, I work full time. My wife works full time, but we are also on a budget. We have to make things fit so that we don't overspend either. For sure, but I think it's about kind of like if you decide that this is something that is worth investing some of your money into, even if it means you have to have less of something else in order to make it work, then you can do that. If there's something that you think you could maybe cut in order to make financial space available for you to subscribe, then yeah, you can do that. I mean, that's why it's like $20 a month, for that reason. Rather than some figure much higher. I mean, there are other competitors out there where they actually charge a lot more, and not only that, you don't just have to subscribe to get the door, you also have to pay another subscription to get technical support and things like that. So other competitors are doing that, where you really do have to pay through the nose quite a bit to get certain things. And also, by the way, other competitor companies, Dolby Atmos is a paid add-on. You have to purchase that as an add-on, whereas we've integrated it into Studio One. So you know, I think the phrase is swings on roundabouts. It's kind of, you have to work out what is important to you in how you make things work. So John Haythwaite says $15 a month is a couple of pints a week. Yes, it is. Or it's like a couple of trips to Costa Coffee or Starbucks, or a bacon roll, a couple of bacon rolls. It's it's the same kind of thing. You I guess you have to be able to financially prioritize what's important to you. And obviously heating, lighting, food, clothes, gas for your car, taxes, those, rent or mortgage, those are your main priorities. But if you've still got money left over after that, then that's where you have to decide what you want to spend that money on, how you want to prioritize that money. So that's kind of where I think with that. And Carl says the mix effects are $80. Yes, they are. The Retro Mix Legends mix effects are $80 from Sweetwater at the moment. So if you want those, they are well worth getting. Let me go back over here. Your bills are more important. Playthings are always last. Yes, Rich is absolutely right. Your financial priorities are what keep you alive, and paying your bills to stay alive. Those are your priorities. And, music stuff is definitely secondary to that, for sure. All right, we are over time because it is time for the Studio One meetup, so we're going to wrap it here. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming and for the great questions and the great chat. And we will be back on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified, and I'll see you then. I'm looking forward to that show very much. So if you've got questions for that show that you want to get to me in advance, do the email thing, or you can ask them in chat as well. All right, until Wednesday, good night, everybody. Have a great start to your week. Bye for now.
Bye.